My ex-boyfriend is quite affluent, and due to his wealth, I found myself in the role of a sycophant. Each day, I diligently catered to his whims, until a scheming interloper entered the picture. On the day we parted ways, I cautiously inquired, "Brother, regarding the apartment you gifted me, could you possibly leave?" He retorted, exasperated. "Under the scorching sun," I complied, swiftly fleeing with the property deed clutched in my hands. 1. During my primary school years, I was akin to an eager sycophant. My deskmate came from a wealthy family, with a drawer brimming with loose change and bills. Every day, I ran errands for the young master, earning 5 yuan per trip. The sight of money dazzled me, and I even accompanied him to the restroom. At such a tender age, my piggy bank overflowed with coins. Eventually, the young master transferred to another school, and it was with the savings I had amassed that I completed my primary education. When I entered secondary school, I engaged in small-scale entrepreneurship, primarily seizing the opportunity during lunch breaks to purchase a large backpack filled with snacks from a nearby shop and then reselling them at a markup during recess. The most enthusiastic buyer in class was a girl named Qian Jing, who was fair-skinned and whose daily allowance often exceeded several hundred yuan. At that time, her motivations were a mystery. Each recess, she would buy dozens of yuan worth of snacks, not for her own consumption, but to share with others. Snack wrappers littered the ground, and she would call me over to clean up, offering 20 yuan for each cleanup. I was particularly diligent, always bustling around her. Most students lacked a solid understanding of the value of money, and during that period, I was doing quite well financially. At my peak, I could earn 300 yuan in a single day. Money was far easier to acquire as a student than in the wider world, where hardships were yet unknown, and the significance of money remained unappreciated. You see, I was without parents, and from a young age, I was astute, constantly contemplating how to earn money. Eventually, when I entered university, I worked exceptionally hard to make money until I encountered Chen Chen, a wealthy second-generation heir who spent lavishly, almost as if he were a divine benefactor. What kind of person was Chen Chen? He was a prodigious talent in the arts, hailing from a family that owned a real estate company. How did we come to know each other? I was the president of the disciplinary committee, and this was the 12th time I had caught him skipping class. His counselor, upon reviewing the attendance sheet, was exceedingly furious. Is being wealthy something to boast about? Classmate, do not assist him in this matter. Once his counselor spoke, I fell silent, continuing to mark attendance daily until he approached me just before the holidays. He inquired about the situation, and I cautiously replied, "Senior, I have no other options." "If there are no options, then devise a plan," he retorted. Leaning back on the sofa, he glanced at me in frustration. Eventually, I did devise a solution, escorting the young master on several occasions until the issue was resolved. Chen Chen was quite pleased with my obsequious role. Perhaps he found amusement in my impoverished appearance, casually gifting me a gold pendant worth 30,000 yuan. I expressed my utmost respect for the young master, eagerly awaiting his presence day and night. One day, he asked me if I had feelings for him. I cautiously replied, "Do you dislike my posts? If so, I shall refrain from posting." He remained silent for a while before finally responding in the chat. "Your name is Zue, right?" "Yes," I replied. Adorable cat emoji. "You know the campus beauty, Qianjing, right?" "I do. She has a failing grade." "Understood. I will inquire about it in the next couple of days." "All right, thank you." True to his reputation as my esteemed young master, he then sent me a red envelope containing 5,000 yuan. I graciously accepted it, promptly replying with a grateful emoji. Perhaps I initially accepted too much money from Chen Chen, for during our subsequent relationship, he often remarked, "Zue, could you please refrain from being so materialistic?" I offered no explanation, for I was indeed materialistic. I accepted every red envelope he provided, as I had never been drawn to him for his character. 2. How did my relationship with Chen Chen blossom? It all began with Qianjing. Remarkably, she and I shared a connection through the same middle school, the same high school, and eventually we both enrolled in the same university. Yet, once we reached university, our differing majors led to us rarely keeping in touch. When we occasionally crossed paths, we merely exchanged greetings, nothing more. Until one fateful night, when Chen Chen called me, inquiring if I owned a vehicle. I replied affirmatively. He mentioned he had been drinking and could not drive, casually sending me a red envelope to come pick him up. In the dead of night, I rode my dilapidated electric scooter, and the young master couldn't contain his laughter upon seeing me. It's my first time on an electric scooter. Shall I call a taxi for you? No. Taxis are uncomfortable. The scooter will suffice. It will be nice to catch some fresh air. I picked up the young master, but he began to spiral into drunken antics, softly crying and mumbling. She rejected me. I confessed to her, and she turned me down. Chun was utterly aggrieved by the night breeze. Eventually, he wrapped his arms around my waist and fell asleep against my back. I froze. I was merely there to pick him up, and such an embrace warranted a different arrangement. As we arrived at the dormitory, Chun confessed his feelings, not verbally, but through a bank transfer of 20,000 yuan with a note reading "Be my girlfriend." I bit my lip and accepted it. When I looked up, Chun was pleased with the completed transaction, casually stuffing his phone into his pocket as he entered the dormitory building. Standing beneath the boys' dormitory, the cold wind hit me, and I suddenly realized that his confession was not a genuine declaration of love, but rather a way for him to cope with his rejection. That night, I gazed at the funds in my bank account, growing increasingly delighted, ultimately drifting off to sleep with a satisfied smile. 3. I had a boyfriend, but only Chun was aware of this. He never spoke of it, nor did I. Occasionally, the young master would send me a red envelope with a note inviting me to dinner, accompanied by an address. I would happily rush over, thrilled not only by the monetary gift, but also by the prospect of a free meal. Sometimes it was a private gathering, just the two of us, with Chun reserving a private room, leisurely enjoying our meal. Having grown accustomed to a life of luxury, he took his time eating. He would disapprove of me eating too much. If I took 2 or 3 bites, he would raise an eyebrow and say, "Drink some soup." A small bowl of soup was offered. I would take a sip, glance up to see if he approved, and then continue eating. In larger gatherings, I would exercise restraint, quietly savoring my food. Occasionally, when called upon, I would look up at the speaker, smiling and responding. If no one inquired further, I would resume eating. Some remarked that I appeared quite obedient, encouraging me to feel at ease, to which I simply smiled and nodded. As for being obedient, it was difficult to assess. I could only say that if you were an orphan, you might be even more compliant than I. I was quite earnest. Later, on my birthday, Chun invited me to celebrate, and I gladly accepted. Aboard his family's grand yacht, the sea breeze was delightful, and I closed my eyes to make a wish. He lazily interrupted, reclining on the sofa. "What wish do you have? Just say it. No need to keep it to yourself." After a moment's hesitation, I boldly declared, "I wish for a house." Chun raised an eyebrow. "You know, my family is in the housing business." "Congratulations. Your wish aligns perfectly. In a few days, I'll take you to finalize the paperwork." He lounged there, still idly scrolling through his phone. The casual promise he made lingered, and I suppressed my racing heartbeat, not daring to inquire if it were true. Instead, I simply sliced the cake and sat beside him, enjoying the beautiful sunset at the dock, the sweet cream filling my senses. In a moment of impulse, I turned my head, yearning to steal a kiss from Chun. I no longer desired the house. I was confident I could save enough money to buy one myself. At that moment, I truly wanted to kiss him. Yet, I remained silent and motionless as he continued to play with his phone, seemingly engrossed in a voice message. I couldn't hear it clearly, but he furrowed his brow. "Let's go. Time to head back." As darkness fell, he had to leave due to prior commitments. I scanned for a small electric scooter, and, upon returning to my dorm, learned that campus beauty Qianjing had been taken to the hospital due to low blood sugar. I approached, catching a glimpse of my roommate's phone displaying a photo from the hospital, with Chun standing nearby. Suddenly, I recalled the uneaten cake, and after a long pause, I yawned and took my phone to bed, ready to sleep. For several days, Chun had matters to attend to, and I did not send any messages. It was not until the day that Qianjing was discharged from the hospital that Chun texted me, inviting me to join him for an outing. He sent a red envelope, and with a cheerful heart, I shouldered my small bag and set off. Upon arrival, I realized that they had taken 2 cars, perfectly accommodating 8 people, leaving me as the unwelcome 9th. I was momentarily taken aback. Everyone was seated in silence, and an awkward tension enveloped the atmosphere. Yet, having arrived, it would be more uncomfortable to suggest returning. Chun looked at me with a furrowed brow, his gaze eventually drifting to a nearby tour bus. Unable to contain her excitement, Qianjing tugged at my arm and said, "Come join us. We'll squeeze in." There was a bit of space in the back seat, but she had just been discharged and was clearly still unwell. I immediately shook my head. "I'll take the tour bus. It will get me there just as well." Qianjing met my gaze for a long moment before finally releasing her grip. Their car departed, and I found myself alone in a pavilion. It was not the peak tourist season, and I was the sole occupant. After a considerable wait, the tour bus arrived. By the time I reached the mountaintop, it was getting late, and the group had already begun their picnic. Most of them were unfamiliar to me, as I had only dined with them once or twice. So I sought a quiet corner to sit, remaining there from noon until the afternoon. Chun was grilling skewers, and occasionally, one would find its way to me. The scenery was splendid, and after eating my fill, I felt inclined to explore a bit. I mentioned this to Chin, who seemed preoccupied with his own thoughts, barely acknowledging me with a brief response. The mountain air was invigorating, and due to my upbringing in the welfare institution, I seldom had the opportunity to enjoy such outings. After wandering for nearly an hour, I figured they would soon finish eating, so I decided to return. However, the situation took an unexpected turn. As I gazed at the deserted clearing, I realized in that moment that one cannot exist without feeling some sense of grievance. Dusk had settled in. The tour bus had stopped, and I was left to trek down the mountain alone. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself once again amidst the mountains. And halfway down, my phone died, plunging me into darkness. I continued my solitary walk. This path reminiscent of the one I had taken as a child escaping from the welfare institution. The dim light and increasingly blurred surroundings gradually succumbed to an impenetrable darkness. I lost my way home, and my father was lost to me as well. In a moment of terror, I sprinted a few steps, the moonlight casting eerie shadows on the dim path. Fear overtook me, and I mustered all my strength to shout, "Senior." The mountains echoed my voice, sending chills through my body. Thus, I wandered through the night, gripped by fear until dawn broke. At the bus station, I awaited the driver, who kindly helped recharge my phone. Upon seeing my disheveled appearance, he was taken aback. "You were out here all night? Why didn't you call the police?" I raised my phone. I forgot to check the battery. "Young lady, you shouldn't hike alone. If you must, at least bring a boyfriend or friend." Perhaps I had called out for someone, but he hardly counted. "Understood. Thank you, driver." When I turned my phone back on, I discovered a message from Chin, who had informed me that he had left and urged me to return home early. I managed a bitter smile, exhaustedly leaning back in my seat and drifting off to sleep. Chin continued to invite me to meals every few days, and on one occasion, it seemed he recalled his promise from my previous birthday. One day, he transferred the ownership of a small apartment to me. The apartment, modest in size with 3 rooms and a living area, had never been occupied and was likely meant for casual gifting on Chin's part. The day I received the property deed, I was overjoyed, eagerly exploring my new abode. Chin, perplexed, remarked, "It's just a small apartment. Why are you so thrilled?" I nodded earnestly, "Senior, you wouldn't understand. I remained at the disciplinary office, assisting Chin with his classes during my free periods. His expectations of me were minimal, just to ensure that nothing went amiss while he was away from school. I fulfilled my duties diligently. During the new year, while others returned home, I did not, as I had no home to return to. I went to my little apartment, which was simply furnished, lacking even a television. I resolved to purchase one before the new year. While shopping for appliances, I encountered Chin, who seemed to be out with his younger sister. She was quite adorable, around 8 or 9 years old. Chin was not particularly skilled at entertaining children. Upon spotting me, he swiftly pulled me over. "Senior," I called out. "Can you teach her how to fold origami cranes?" he asked. "Of course," I replied eagerly. "I'll send you a red envelope." Hearing this, I nodded in agreement, noticing the little girl holding a piece of paper, her eyes brimming with tears of frustration. Upon hearing my words, she handed me the paper. It was a simple sheet of colored paper, and I folded it into a crane, which she joyfully took back to her group of friends. Chin frowned. "What is so special about a cheap piece of paper?" I shook my head. "It's not about the cost. Cherished things remain treasures regardless of their price." Surprised by my response, Chin looked at me. "Are you here to shop?" "Yes, I want to buy a television." "You helped out. Let's go. I'll help you pick one." He assisted me in choosing a decent television, and although Chun Chun and I had grown somewhat familiar, we were still far from being a couple, merely friends, or perhaps acquaintances. I was in my third year of university, turning 21 this year. Alone. I prepared dumplings and gazed out at the brilliant fireworks, watching young people run about, holding sparklers. I mingled among them, clutching the fireworks I had purchased, making my way to the riverbank to watch the bursts of light ascend into the sky. In the welfare institution, on New Year's Eve, we would finish our meals early and head to bed. Unable to sleep, we waited for midnight, when the sound of firecrackers would echo outside. We would crowd by the small window, watching in silence. Initially, only one child would shed tears, but soon all of us would be crying, stifling our sobs to avoid distressing our caregivers, yet yearning for home. Today, as I watched the fireworks, tears streamed down my face amidst the festive atmosphere. I smiled through my tears, marveling at the dazzling display. Suddenly, someone tugged at my sleeve. Looking down, I saw a little girl, Chen Chen's sister, clutching a small toy tiger while wearing a tiger hat, her eyes sparkling. "You're the sister who can fold origami cranes," she exclaimed. "What's your name? Where's your brother?" I lifted her into my arms. "I'm Chin Xiao. My brother is over there." Following her Drishang, I spotted a group of familiar faces from our hiking trip, with Chun Chun standing at the center. They had purchased an array of beautiful fireworks that illuminated the night, and I yearned to join them. I set the little girl down, and as she dashed toward her brother, I stepped back, distancing myself. On the first day of the new year, I was awakened by a knock on the door. It was Chin Chen. I gazed at him as he handed me Chin Xiao. "She insisted on finding you to wish you a happy new year and wouldn't stop." "Happy New Year, sister," she exclaimed. I was taken aback by her gesture. After searching for a while, I stubbornly found a piece of red paper and fashioned a red envelope for her. Just as they were about to leave, another knock echoed through the apartment. On the first day of the new year, many visitors came. When I opened the door, I was abruptly embraced. "Sister, did you miss me?" "I missed you so much." The young man clung to me tightly, practically hanging off me. I struggled, gasping, "Zhou Luo, let go." "Not a chance." "Cough, cough, there's someone here." Zhou Luo relinquished his grasp, gazing at Chen Chen, who was cradling the little girl in my room. After a brief moment of contemplation, he looked at me incredulously and inquired, "Sister, you wouldn't consider becoming a stepmother for money, would you?" I retorted, "How absurd. Do I strike you as that kind of person? Am I really that old?" It was Chun Chun who spoke first. Zhou Luo discreetly rolled his eyes and whispered to me, "Who is this?" With that authoritative tone, one might mistake him for your father. 6. "This is my friend, Chun Chun, and his younger sister, Chun Xiao. This is my half-brother, Zhou Luo." Zhou Luo pouted, "Sister, why is he a half-brother? Can't I be a beloved brother?" "Absolutely not. I have no penchant for sibling romances. TSK, interests can be cultivated. If it's not possible, I can endure a little humiliation. Just call me brother, okay?" "Sister, please don't leave. What are we having for lunch?" "I traveled all night on the train, and I'm both exhausted and famished." "Go sit at the table for a while." 3 minutes. "I'll bring your meal over once it's heated in the microwave." "I refuse. You always burn your hands on the microwave. I'll fetch it myself." "But you'll burn your hands too." "It's different. I'll be burning my own hands." "Go away." I bought heat-resistant gloves. Chun Chen observed us from the kitchen for a while before finally leaving with his sister in his arms. Zhou Luo, after finishing his meal, happily returned to his room to rest, which happened to be mine. I hadn't purchased a blanket, and currently, my room was the only one suitable for guests. I never anticipated Zhou Luo would come. Our universities were quite distant, one in the south, the other in the north. The journey required 4 transfers, and tickets were notoriously difficult to secure during the new year. Every year, when I called, he would lament his inability to come. This year, however, I had specifically called him, and he had mentioned he couldn't secure a ticket. Yet here he was, arriving on New Year's Day. It had been 3 years since we last met, and he had changed considerably, taller and more mature, but when I saw him, he still resembled the boy I once knew. On New Year's Day, some large department stores had opened, and I purchased a set of bedding along with a 4-piece set, spending nearly 2,000 yuan. I winced at the expense. Zhou Luo needed something of better quality due to his allergy-prone nature. I vividly remembered the day he first arrived at the orphanage, assigned the bed next to mine, where I was tasked with taking care of him. By midnight, he had suffered an allergic reaction. When I saw his little face swollen like a pig's head in the morning, I was nearly terrified, but I quickly came to my senses and took him to the hospital. The doctor informed me that he was allergic to the bedding, nearly suffocating him. After that incident, Zhou Luo had his own special little blanket that no one else was allowed to touch, except for me, of course, as he had just arrived and didn't he know how to air out or change his bedding. From that day on, after I had carried him to the hospital, he became particularly attached to me. Everything else seemed to trigger his allergies, but with me, he was fine. He clung to me like glue, wanting to be by my side at all times. In his childhood, he was easy to hold, but now, standing at 6 feet tall, it felt rather inappropriate to carry him. When Zhou Luo awoke, it was already 8 in the evening. Sleepily, he emerged to look for me, instinctively leaning closer until I pushed him away, bringing him back to reality. Good evening, sister. Heat your own food. Remember to wear the microwave gloves. Your room is next door. Sister, would you like to see my suitcase? I brought you a gift. With suspicion, I opened the suitcase, which wasn't too large, but contained a lovely bouquet of roses. Sister, Happy New Year. I gazed at the bouquet and replied, Happy New Year. Sister, there's a bank card hidden among the flowers. The password is your birthday. Zhou Luo. Yes, that's unnecessary. Sister must accept it. These may seem trivial to you, but they are immensely significant to me. It's not merely because I admire you. I wish to contribute something for you. Even if your future choices lead you to marry someone else or live alone, that cannot be a reason for you to refuse me. If you want to allow me to be family, then I can still be a part of your extended family. Sister, I hesitated to come before. I lacked money and felt I had no standing to express these feelings to you. But today, I finally can. After all these years, I truly missed you. Get lost. I don't want your food. Take your flowers and go back to your room. No, ieme ungi. Don't be too moved, sister. Who else moved? I have a condition that makes me prone to tears. It's just that I cry easily. Zhou Luo stayed with me for a while, and I took him shopping for some clothes. Many of them required custom fabric, not for show, but because custom materials are more stable. Compared to others, he was genuinely a young master. This marked the 7th time I had encountered Qin Chun while shopping this year. It was becoming almost habitual. He regarded me, his expression noticeably subdued. Zhou Luo was not fond of him. Upon seeing Qin Chen, he began to complain. He always has that glum look. Sister, how much do you owe him? I could sell myself to settle your debt. It must be difficult to be constantly confronted by a frown. Be quiet. He gifted me a house, the very one we live in. Huh, just that? We could manage together. If not, let's return it. Shut up. I endured a night of trekking with these young masters for this house. It's what I deserve. Sister, you have it tough. Wait for me. My friends and I recently started a company that is doing moderately well. Once I earn a lot, I'll buy you 10 or 8 houses. Sister, focus on your graduate studies and I'll come accompany you. When my friends ask why I'm here, I'll just say I'm supporting a graduate student. It'll be amusing to think about. Get lost. Chun Chin observed the two of us leaning close together and couldn't help but frown. What are you two whispering about so intimately? Zhou Luo mumbled under his breath, talking about you. Yet he quickly raised his head, smiling. Chinga, I want to be around for a while. Please look after my sister. She's timid and shouldn't be wandering through the mountains alone. After all, she's just a young lady and might be scared. Chun Chin was taken aback. When did I ever let her? But he trailed off, fixated on me. I lowered my gaze, silently asserting that it wasn't my words, and I had no part in it. Zhou Luo then pulled Chin Chin aside, continuing, Chinga, I truly appreciate your care during this time. Is there anything you like that I could gift you? I don't need anything. Chun Chen's expression darkened, but Zhou Luo remained undeterred, smiling. Let us exchange WeChat. If there's anything you feel is lacking, don't hesitate to reach out. My sister is here alone, and with our family not around, she may feel uneasy. Just contact me if you need anything. Zhou Luo was set to leave before school started, and he lingered for quite some time before finally stepping out. As he entered the station, he turned back. Sister, remember me? I stepped closer and embraced him. He froze, staring at me blankly. Sister, is this a response? I said nothing, discreetly slipping a bank card into his pocket. After a moment, he cautiously retrieved it. Once he passed through security, I pointed to his pocket. He froze upon feeling it. Sister, come back. You took the card back. I still have money. Sister? Don't go. Uncle, can I step ahead for a moment? Please hand this card to that girl, sister. Just turn around. I covered my ears and strode out, realizing that it was perhaps better not to see Zhou Luo. When apart, we merely shared things and occasionally remembered each other, and those feelings didn't seem so weighty. Yet, once we met, the thought of separation became unbearable, and I could not quell the sorrow in my heart regarding our impending farewell. Zhou Luo had approximately 800,000 in his card, which I presumed he had pooled together as his remaining savings for this trip. Too much. If you give me less, I will take it. 9. Zhou Luo has left, and I have also commenced my studies. In the second semester of my junior year, contemplating my aspiration to pursue graduate studies, I resolutely resigned from my position as head of the department. Reflecting on Chen, I made a point to reach out to him. Subsequently, he sent me a red envelope, but it was of no use. For further details, one could contact the counselor or someone else. It took a long while for him to respond with a simple message. Okay. After confirming, I did not dwell on it. It had been a while since Chen last contacted me, until one day I heard he had started dating someone new. Initially, I assumed it was because of money, but upon inquiry, I discovered that was not the case. I merely heard she was an exceptionally beautiful woman. To ascertain the final matter, I took my property deed and paid him a visit. At that time, Chen was at his villa, accompanied by a stunning woman who furrowed her brow upon seeing me. Hesitantly, I spoke. About this house, Xiao Zui, is this why you came to see me? And regarding the money from your confession, since we were never together, I believe it is inappropriate for me to accept it. Xiao Zui. Chen was genuinely angry, his eyes ablaze as he gazed at me. Are you saying this to sever all ties with me? That is not my intention. I do not wish to see you now. Could you please leave? I was taken aback, and after a lengthy pause, I replied, I can. Clutching the property deed, I departed. Upon reflection, I considered this my consolation fee. I could not endure such humiliation only to be left with nothing but disgrace. Could I? With the deed in hand, I joyfully returned home. Now, if I don't sell it later, I might as well keep it. Even if sold, it would fetch 100 or 200,000. I could buy Zhou Luo a watch. 10 later, I encountered Chen once more at his graduation. Dressed in a splendid gown, he caught my arm as we brushed past each other. Xiao Zui, have you ever liked me for a moment? Not because of money, but simply because you liked me? I pondered for a moment and shook my head. Senior, it is precisely because of money that you are liked. What do you mean? Because you are generous. Generous people tend to bestow gifts upon others, and those gifts often create an illusion of being loved. I smiled. When you mentioned gifting me a house, I was utterly stunned, thinking perhaps you had feelings for me. Otherwise, why be so generous? But soon, it dawned on me that you own many houses, hence your indifference. I believe true affection should not be like this. It should not be that I spent a night trapped in the mountains without noticing anything amiss. In this city, I hardly knew anyone well, and that mountain was so dark. I was frightened and could only place my hopes on you. I kept thinking, could it be that you had come looking for me? But my phone was off, causing us to miss each other. I called out numerous times until my voice nearly gave out, but by dawn, I finally saw the bus station. Chen held onto my hand, not letting go, as my sleeve was pulled into creases. And I finally heard his low explanation. I did not. Senior, I will be getting married upon graduation. You must come to my wedding. He looked up at me, dazed, as if somewhat lost in thought, and after a long pause, he replied, All right. The end. Extra. Chen, each extra may be more captivating. Xiao Zui is getting married, and I witnessed her wed another. She claimed that man was her childhood sweetheart, but if we are discussing childhood sweethearts, he should not have been ahead of me. My first encounter with Xiao Zui was not in college, but in second grade of elementary school. In the 1990s, my family was still developing and was not as affluent as it is now. My parents were always busy, only handing me a handful of pocket money to buy my own snacks. When my parents transferred to work inland, I was enrolled in a local public elementary school. The environment there was not particularly friendly. To put it another way, I was bullied due to my wealth and my petite stature. After being robbed of money multiple times, I confided in my desk mate, who was named Xiao Zue. Not merely a name, but she was indeed that girl. The seemingly adorable little girl who would throw bricks at others behind their backs. At that time, girls were generally taller than boys. She claimed she could protect me. During her first fight, she took 20 yuan from me. That day after school, she wielded a brick and fought with a group of boys. Eventually, she stepped on one and caught two others, compelling them to apologize and promise to make amends before letting them go. She returned home happily with the 20 yuan. In her second fight, she took 80 yuan from me. It was not that she overcharged, but rather that she had become more formidable. The group that had been robbing me, fearing her wrath, chose to corner me in the restroom. I had no money that day and was trapped there until class began. I was still very young and felt utterly hopeless, deeply despondent. Then, Xiao Zue arrived again, entering the restroom with a feces scooper in hand. Initially, she merely tapped people with a scooper, causing a ruckus as they dodged her, but it was ineffective. They merely hid in unreachable corners, refusing to let us leave. Finally, the little girl grew tired of this and scooped a full spoonful of feces from the side toilet, causing a commotion as everyone yelled for her to stay away. Yet she did not approach. Instead, she hurled spoonfuls of excrement. That smell, on that day, the whole school erupted. The school summoned all parents, and that day, Xiao Zue looked at the teacher. I can write a longer self-critique, but I grew up in an orphanage and I have no parents. I was stunned. At that moment, I realized she was an orphan. I remarked that she was acting heroically, and my parents echoed the sentiment when they arrived. In the end, she neither wrote a self-critique nor called for her parents. Instead, she received a reward of 500 yuan, which, of course, came from my family. Later, Xiao Zue approached me, asking if I could give her money for running errands. I inquired why she needed it when I had just given her 500 yuan. She shook her head. The school gave it directly to the orphanage, and I will not receive it. I bought snacks and meals in abundance, giving her considerable sums for her errands, but soon I had to transfer schools. Before my transfer, I sought out my neighbor, gifting her my favorite doll and requesting her to look after Xiao Zue. My neighbor, named Qianjing, indeed followed through on that promise. However, I spent a long time abroad, so long that I nearly forgot that memory. I went abroad at 9 and returned at 18. By the time I came back, I had developed a generational gap with this country. Unlike them, who prepared for college entrance exams for 9 years, I was an exchange student, feeling a sense of superiority over everything here. I skipped classes until I was informed that I might not graduate, after receiving a scolding from my father. I finally joined the student council. I spotted that little girl, initially finding her familiar, buried in the recesses of my memory, yet unable to recall her. I merely perceived her as greedy, and I have always looked down upon such individuals. Yet, I could not shake the feeling that she was rather endearing, prompting me to seek her out. I delighted in watching her eat, celebrated her birthdays with joy, and I still remember the way she looked up at me, her eyes sparkling with starlight. Xiao Zue was remarkable. She handled matters swiftly and efficiently, as if she had a solution for everything, a quality I could never surpass. I recognized this, but inexplicably felt a tinge of annoyance, as though apart from money, she did not truly need me. During that outing, I harbored an irrational anger. If she was so exceptional, she should remain steadfast. I waited, hoping she would encounter difficulties and seek my assistance. Yet I never considered that her phone might run out of battery, nor did I contemplate that she would spend a night in that dark mountain. After that day, she seemed to drift further away from me, no longer gazing at me with those hopeful eyes. I had been in numerous relationships and was well acquainted with the delicate art of understanding hearts. Thus, I gifted her a house. I didn't choose the most lavish one, for I knew that most women would never be satisfied and would only lament why they couldn't have something grander. Yet, Xiao Zue did not complain. No. She said nothing at all. That was simply her nature, calm and unperturbed. She appreciated the gift if given, and dismissed it if not. It was then that I realized she truly held no expectations of me anymore. Later, she insisted on returning the house, which infuriated me. It was not merely the house she was returning. She sought to convey a clean break, a definitive severance. I could not accept the house back. I didn't wish for such a clean conclusion. An entanglement was far more preferable. As long as the house remained in her possession, I would always have a chance for redemption. Even after she married, I did not relent. As long as the house was hers, should her marriage falter, I could easily intervene. However, she moved to another residence, and that Zhou Luo even rented out the very house I had gifted her. Extra. Zhou Luo, during the New Year festivities, on the eve of the Lunar New Year at 10:07, I set out to surprise my sister. By 1340, on the first day of the new year, I arrived at my sister's home only to find a man there, accompanied by a child, which startled me greatly. I approached my sister for a gentle embrace. In the living room, I exclaimed, "What is this?" "A soft, white sister, let me embrace her." In the kitchen, I echoed the sentiment, "What is this?" "A soft, white sister, let me embrace her." In the bedroom, I repeated, "What is this?" "A soft, white sister, let me embrace her." Outside, I continued, "What is this?" "A soft, white sister, let me embrace her." He, sister, my dear sister. Reflecting on my past, my parents were alive, but they cast me aside, deeming me too prone to allergies. They abandoned me, leaving me lost and taken to an orphanage. That was my first visit to such a place, where I gazed in terror at my surroundings. Eventually, a busy aunt entrusted me to a sister of a similar age. In the dead of night, my body swelled and itched painfully, but I endured. I felt my breathing grow labored, my mind clouding. As dawn broke, I sensed someone lifting me. That sister called out, "He seems to be having an allergic reaction, call 120. I struggled to open my eyes, but could not. I reached out, grasping only a corner of clothing, imploring, "Don't let go of me." "I want to do it again." The sister reassured me. "I want to let go. 120 will arrive soon, and I will take you to the hospital. You will be fine." When I awoke, I found myself in a hospital. The sister beside me. I held onto her sleeve, drifting back into a peaceful slumber. Subsequently, they purchased pure silk sheets and pillowcases for me. My sister, hands on her hips, teased that I was spoiled, explaining that silk could only be hand-washed, and she taught me to clean them meticulously. However, they only bought one set, and after washing, I found myself without a place to sleep. I sought my sister, sneaking into her bed in the middle of the night, free from allergies. It was peculiar. It seemed that her bed offered me refuge from my afflictions. Embracing my sister did not provoke my allergies either. The doctor later suggested it might be psychologically related. I did not believe it. I always felt that my sister was my guardian angel. Sister, my dear sister. When it came to marriage, my sister's wedding gown had to be the most exquisite, preferably custom-made and personally designed. The ring should also be uniquely crafted, splendidly beautiful. "Sister, you're here. Come, give me a hug." "Zhou Luo, you're 22. A hug has nothing to do with age." "Then what does it relate to?" I was pushed away, but I did not give up. "It relates to how much I long for your embrace." "Does sister know?" "I've prepared many things." "What things?" "You'll find out if you marry me." Extra. Qianjing, Chen-Chen's mother, that wretched woman, not even a dog would want her. Why should I accept his confession? Just because he comes from a wealthy family? My family is well off too. Should I simply acquiesce to a marriage of convenience? Aside from his petty riches, has he ever considered his own worth? Does he genuinely think he is beloved by all? He even lamented to me that women only approached him for his money. He truly lacks self-awareness. What could I possibly desire from a man with 18 girlfriends in a year? His ability to charm is limited to selling himself, fetching a few thousand in Myanmar. It's laughable. He possesses no real capabilities, yet complains that others only seek his wealth, when if he had any other redeeming qualities, it might be different. Moreover, a man who juggles 18 girlfriends a year while parading as a devoted lover is simply revolting. Even dogs would scoff at him. He only dangles money in front of Xiao Zui, that orphan. Yet, Xiao Zui merely accepts the money. When trouble arises, she swiftly moves on. Men like him deserve to perish alone underground. And he dares to pursue me? I vow to remain single for life, refusing to marry him. With all his vehicles, why did he choose that particular one, deliberately making Xiao Zui ride in it as a sightseeing tour? Clearly, he seeks to isolate others. Furthermore, he left her on the mountain, clearly intending to send everyone away and keep only Xiao Zui behind. What was he waiting for? For Xiao Zui to apologize and call for help? What utter manipulation! I dialed Xiao Zui's high school number 16 times only to discover it had been deactivated. Yet, my family and Chen-Chen's family were in business together, so I couldn't scold him. It was infuriating. I relaxed only after learning that Xiao Zui had returned. My advice: never be swayed by a deceitful man. If you must run, do so without hesitation. Don't wait for him to regret it. Men like this are not worth the trouble. He lacks introspection, believing he still holds hope, scheming only to ensnare others. If he takes one misstep, he'll be plagued for a lifetime. I suffer from a fear of crowds. I genuinely fear those with ulterior motives. He spouts grand ambitions while waiting for Xiao Zui. A man so incompetent that he cannot manage his own affairs yet desperately seeks Xiao Zui's attention. She wouldn't even consider him, even after 6 marriages. This concludes the tale. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.